get into kind of no bueno.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2022, new year,
Yep.
new focus, new projects,
New opportunities.
new opportunities. And we wanted to talk about like specifically first why we got into talent, why we got into recruitment as a space. None of us in this kind of organization have any experience in talent, so who the fuck are we to get into this space?
We've got a lot of experience in trying to find talent.
Yeah, but we haven't done it professionally as a service.
No, as a service. No,
Right? So we're not exactly like the industry kind of leaders in recruitment.
No, but we understand the problem deeply.
That we do. And so on that point, like, why do we get into talent? And I think I want to talk through that a little bit. And I think it's important that people understand why we think we might be able to have the right to try. So talent specifically, I think understanding talent, understanding the importance of talent is the first piece to this. If you, like us, believe that you're only as good as your people, your organization, your brand is only as good as people, then you understand how critical this problem is. Many things have kind of manifested, the crisis that we're in. There's like the Great Resignation. We spoke about that a couple of times on different episodes. And fundamentally, even here in the region, I feel like it's getting worse and worse and worse. It's really not getting any better.
Yep.
There's tons of money in the market. There's tons of ideas, lots of startups. But from a talent perspective, I'm finding it. We're finding it. And I think our kind of peers find it more and more difficult to attract, keep and retain talent as well.
Yep. For talent as well.
Yeah.
Like talent, affordability, there's like a break in the market on this front.
Absolutely.
Trying to get people in to work specifically.
It's crazy.
There's a lot more problems than there was 2 years ago when it comes to this topic.
100%. And one thing that we found was what was critical that wasn't really part of any solution at the moment was the whole values culture piece as well. So for us, our personal experience of, the trouble of finding talent, keeping talent, et cetera, as well as kind of the fact that, we're so plugged in, I think, in terms of the startup community, and there isn't a day that goes by where, somebody doesn't call us or WhatsApp us and say, hey, do you know anybody for this, anybody for that? At some point, we believe that, what, why don't we try and find a solution to this problem? And so, No Bueno, which we launched about a week ago or more, we, first of all, I think a great way to kind of explain what our solution and what our approach is by explaining the name of the company.
Yep.
A lot of people reached out and said, No Bueno? What? Spanish? No bueno? No good? I don't understand. Why would you call your company No Bueno? And I think we can give the backstory, and I think people will get it.
The people who know you well just know that. Why not?
Why not? Yeah, why not? And so when we were defining the problem that we wanted to solve, the journey was as follows. Basically, we mapped out the journeys of recruitment. We mapped out the journeys of, job seekers, and we kind of rationally looked at it and said, okay, this whole thing is fundamentally broken. Let's cut it up into pieces and understand what our solution should be. So we made a list of all the things that we don't want it to be. And so on the recruitment side, we started with kind of job descriptions. And so we realized that whenever anyone was looking to hire somebody, they start with the good old job description. And what we realized was people basically...
A lot of job descriptions look the same.
Yeah, they all look the same, and they all have the same kind of framework and structure. And then we realized after speaking to so many recruiters that, yes, there is the exception of people who do it properly from A to Z and that. But the reality is everyone's rushed. Everything's urgent. They need to hire the talent yesterday. And so what do? They short circuit the whole thing. They don't do justice to the job description, and they basically find something online that is close enough to what they're looking for, and they tweak it a little bit, just enough not to feel like a ripoff. And so we realized quickly that job descriptions are bullshit. They're misrepresentations of the opportunity, misrepresentations of the role, misrepresentations of the organizations. And so the first thing we wrote on our problem list was, let's make sure we have no job descriptions. Similarly, on the seeker side, people looking for jobs, the CVs, surprise, surprise, are also full of shit.
Yeah.
Right? So
you remember when you first learned to do a CV?
College.
Yeah. It was just like this. And keep in mind, CVs are something that people don't really challenge. Like, but why wouldn't you challenge it? We're told you should create a CV and keep it up to date on your latest experience.
Yeah.
And it could be 1 page, should be 1 page, or 2 pages. Then it was 1 page. Then it's 3 pages as you get through your career, because you just can't fit it all onto 1 page unless you put like Arial font size 7.
You use illustrations and iconography.
But what's the point of a CV? How many CVs do you read? You get 1,000 CVs
None.
per job. Yeah, same.
I couldn't be bothered.
Exactly.
I could not be bothered.
Yep.
And like when we mapped it out, we said, okay, CVs are what? They're over embellished representations of people. So we realized quickly when we mapped out the problem, we said, these are all bullshit. So, I mean, let's give an example. If somebody's in a company for 10 months, they'll put 1 year for fear of being judged, of being, unstable and always jumping from job to job. So people will never put under a year, or they'll just remove it entirely from their CV. If they manage 5 people, they'll put 10 people. I manage a team of 10. That makes me look more experienced and more mature and more kind of suitable for the role. If I was in sales and I did, $500,000 in revenue for a company in sales, I'll put $1 million. $1 million sounds better. I could put a big M on there. It looks amazing.
Never going to check that.
Right? Who's going to check that? Were they going to call my boss and ask me, hey, how much did he actually generate in sales? No one's going to do that.
You have to do a reference. There are these reference. I wonder if those reference questions ever get asked.
Bullshit.
The amount of times I've been put as a reference and never been phoned, it's insane.
And then if I have a bit of proficiency in some skill, I'm going to put expert.
I remember I can speak like basic Arabic. That was when I was moving to Dubai. Yeah. Why? Because the algorithm requires that, like, if I want to get picked up in certain search terms, I need to put Arabic. And it's the point, right? Like, the technology basically made us try to hack an algorithm.
You can't speak Arabic, can you?
Aywa. Shwai.
Yeah. That qualifies you for almost any job now.
Shukran.
So then the second thing we wrote on the problem was, okay, no job descriptions, but also no CVs. Whatever solution we have, there cannot be a job description involved, and there cannot be a CV involved. Because bottom line, they're misrepresentations of people or opportunities. Third, we realized that people are extremely biased. Now let's give everyone the benefit of the doubt. There are some conscious bias and some unconscious biases, right? And we spoke to tons of recruiters, and the amount of shit that was admitted to us was amazing.
Yeah.
And there are some that are terrible. And I'm not going to name names, but let me kind of provoke a little bit. If you're a woman who just got married in her mid-20s, childless, and you're applying for a job, chances are there will be a bias against you. That's super fucked up. That's the reality of how people recruit today. If ethnicity has a huge bias, right?
Yep.
If you have an accent when you speak English, if you've worked in specific companies over others. I mean, let me just put my hand up here. If you have ex-Kareem on your CV, you're fucking golden. Right? But does that actually warrant anything else? Does that warrant that you are better than the next guy because he didn't work at Kareem? Yeah. Chances are, 99% of the time, no.
Exactly.
No disrespect to our ex-Kareem colleagues. We learned a lot. We did a lot. It was amazing. But that does not warrant the bias that is against people who haven't worked for these big brands.
Yep.
Right? So one thing that we realized is there's tons of bias.
Yep.
Some that are justified and some that aren't, right? And we're not going to make a call on that. And we're not here for morality lesson. But we realized that there cannot be any public profiles. Everything needs to be anonymized. So we wrote, okay, no job descriptions, no CVs, no public profiles.
And when you think about just those 3 things in isolation,
it's crazy.
You completely break the idea of what the internet is as we know by being anonymous.
Yeah.
Because we share everything publicly today. CVs we've been taught since we were in grade school. And job descriptions are just such a normal habit. I mean, you have an army of people in HR just creating job descriptions for your brand. And now we're saying, let's just kill it all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, agreed.
Right? Because fundamentally, they are misrepresentations. So if something is going to start you off on the wrong foot, then don't start with that. right? And that's fundamentally what we believe. So we wrote no job descriptions, no CVs, and no public profiles. So basically no bias or no discrimination. So we wrote all these things down. The other thing that we found out is that the cost of recruitment is insane.
Yeah.
Now, the costs can be packaged in many different ways, but you have, let's say you have an in-house talent acquisition team. So the amount of time it takes them to find talent, their costs, etc. That's one bucket. Then you have the tools, let's say, you know, the LinkedIns or the job boards or the Indeeds or any specialized even kind of platforms, those costs. Then you have the personality tests and the, I don't know what tests and whatever. So those tools. And then even if you take it a step further, let's say you move up the chain a little bit and you go to kind of more executive roles, you have headhunters, recruiters, specialized recruiters, etc. And then those costs.
Yeah.
And that might run you anywhere between 10% of an annual salary to 30%, depending on the role. And then plus, if you package this all together, the cost of recruitment is super high. And to make matters worse, fucking tenure is average tenure at the moment in tech-related roles is under 1 year.
Yeah, it's got to be.
So you got to do this every fucking year.
Yeah, and you've missed off one cost: the time.
Yeah,
as hiring managers, the lack of productivity that comes from what you're meant to be doing in your day-to-day role. So all of the other things you're meant to be doing because you're out searching.
Yeah,
that time, but that monetary value that goes to that is insane.
So we wrote on the board: no job descriptions, no CVs, no bias, no discrimination, no public profiles, no fees. And then we said, and if you have no job, then that's no good.
Yeah.
And so all these no's, like the solution should not have this, should not have that, no this, no that, no this, no that.
Yeah.
And at the time, we were kind of looking at different cultures, looking at different things, and we were listening to kind of Latin, Spanish music.
What were we working on?
I can't remember.
We were trying to figure out something. We were looking across different cultures. We remember Korea. We were looking at. We had Latin, like South America.
Oh yes, we were even thinking of relocating our office, and we were looking at different incentives of different countries and cities, and we were looking at Spanish culture.
Yeah,
and we were actually listening to Spanish music in the office. And
check out our Instagram page for Chris's latest moves.
And one thing we realized was there's something to be said, anecdotally, about Spanish culture, and you know, I've traveled there. I think a lot of us have traveled there. I know, you know, River sitting next to us is obsessed with Spanish culture, and he grew up there.
Yeah.
And so there's something to be said about Spanish culture in the sense that this is super subjective, and I probably don't have any data points to prove this, but they seem to have life figured out, at least to the extent that they have a nice lifestyle, work-life balance in a way that maybe we don't have here in Dubai, or, you know, I lived in the US and Canada. We don't have that over there.
Yeah.
You know, it just felt like Spanish culture really put emphasis on a good life. And so when we were coming up with all these problems and what the solution was going to be, and all the no's, and we said all of this is no good, we have to start from scratch. That's when it dawned on us that why don't we pay homage to the Spanish and call our brand No Bueno. Now, for all the people that are going to correct us,
yeah, we know it's grammatically incorrect.
We know it's grammatically incorrect. We know it's No Es Bueno.
Yes.
Fine? We know. But no one's going to call themselves No Es Bueno.
Yeah.
And No Bueno rolls off the tongue really cool. And it basically means no good.
Yeah.
And that's amazing, because one of the first rules that we learned in branding:
never start with a negative.
Never start with a negative. Never have any negative association.
Yeah.
And why not throw all of that out of the window? The DUCKLIFE way.
Yeah.
The Duck way. I don't know if you can see it in the shot.
Yeah, the Duck way.
The Duck way. And why don't we just say fuck that and call the company No Bueno? Because the way things are going right now, generally in the space, is no good. Let's start from scratch. So what's the solution? There are no job descriptions. There are no CVs. Everything is anonymized. There's no fees. And No Bueno basically is a marketplace, if you will, a social space where people can create opportunities. Organizations can create opportunities where we capture all the fundamentals of where the role is it full-time, remote, or freelance? Is it, where's the job located? What are the salary brackets you're looking at? What kind of experience, in terms of total experience of years? What technical skills, soft skills, personality, and values should the role have, etc., etc., etc. So you can create an opportunity fully anonymized. And on the flip side, people do the same thing. We capture kind of their years of experience, their fundamental needs and requirements, their technical skills, their soft skills, their personality, and their values. And then what does that do? It Tinderizes everything. Never thought I'd say that
No.
publicly,
I think you
but
just coined it.
but it Tinderizes basically and allows people to match opportunities to people, right? Not job descriptions to CVs.
Mm-hmm.
That's the fundamental difference. We believe people are people, measure them by a standardized way that makes sense, that captures all the things that make sense, and let them match. Now, this doesn't mean you've applied to a role. You get matched to an opportunity. Now you can speak to the person in a means that is qualified.
Yeah.
That's no bueno. It basically instantly connects you to people that are a match for your organization based on the things that matter the most. And so that's how we're approaching this. So about 10 days ago, we launched beta. What is our beta launch? Basically, we're looking for all types of organizations, small, big, medium, whatever. Anyone who has basically the inkling of interest to have a new approach to kind of finding talent. Long behold, we announced it, and thankfully everyone has this problem and everybody wants to, try to help us in finding the solution.
Yeah.
So first off, big thank you to everybody who's supporting us. It's amazing, and it validates everything that we believe was the real problem. And so for the next 3 months or so, we're onboarding a handful of brands, and we're going to test this out. We're going to get feedback. We're going to iterate. We're going to fix.
Yeah.
And hopefully, once we get through that, then we'll know exactly whether this makes sense or doesn't, and then we'll scale like hell. And that's no bueno. Everywhere. And I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
This is not a Dubai
No.
or Middle Eastern product. We're based here. We act. I mean, naturally, we're gonna work with a lot of brands that are in the region first.
Yep.
But for this to work, there can be no borders. There can be no barriers. Anyone, anywhere can create an opportunity, and anyone, anywhere can create a profile.
And that's really important given just the way the world works today
Yeah.
and over the last 2 years.
I think fundamentally on that point, somebody asked me, we were doing an onboarding last week, like fundamentally, how do you see this playing out in the next 5-10 years? We agree on this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the future state of talent, and hopefully no bueno can play a role in that. But the vision is, we believe that organizations, brands will move towards an open source way of working. Sure, there are going to be some permanent roles in
Mm-hmm.
every organization. It's like you're not going to rotate your CEO every 3 months or whatever, or maybe you will. But hopefully there are
CMOs are rotated every 9 months?
Yeah, or CEOs maybe it'd be more stability. Will have more stability. But generally speaking, we believe that open source is the way of the future.
Yep.
Right. So that what you do is you basically have problems to solve, and you find the best people matched to solve the problems, rather than hire people and have them on a fixed payroll forever. And so you say this all the time, and you say we need to work like lions.
Yeah.
And we believe all people should have that right? Whether it's a content creator, whether it's a marketeer, whether it's a designer, whether it's an engineer, everyone should work like lions, get the maximum output for the minimum input, right? And so organizations should do that too. They should hire people based on the problems that they want to solve, and find the best person to solve that problem on a case-by-case basis, rather than just have a headcount of thousands and thousands and thousands of employees. And so people get their freedom, they get their days, their life, their hours back, and organizations operate way more efficiently.
Yeah.
So the future vision of talent is an open source world where everybody can operate that way, and every organization can do that as well, irrespective of the role and responsibility.
Exactly.
That's no bueno.
Super exciting.
So if you're interested,
Yep.
and I'm not going to turn our podcast into a sales pitch, but if you're interested to be part of the beta program, just go on nobueno.com.
Drop your email.
Drop your email, and we'll get in touch with you, and we'll enroll you, and we'll contact you as soon as we can. This will probably go until the end of March, mid-April latest. And then after that, the beta program will be over. There are some benefits to participating in the beta program. So the sooner you sign up, the sooner you reach out, the sooner we can include you. But yeah, 2022 is the year of NoBueno.
Yeah.
Um,
2022 is the year of focus.
Yeah.
And one of the outputs of that is no bueno.
Yeah, 100%. And so big thank you to everybody who's helped us get to this point. And stay tuned, because the last thing I want to say is we're gonna document this company. We're gonna publicly document how we're building it.
We're going to build in public.
We're gonna build in public, and everyone's gonna be aware of the ups and downs.
Yeah.
And we haven't figured out how we're gonna do that yet, but some sort of video blog series or something that we're gonna share publicly on the ups and downs of this journey. Anyhow, thanks for tuning in.
Amazing.
And wish us luck. Ciao. Adios.